Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. We have two American blended whiskeys, and they're both inexpensive. Okay, so this is Bellows. You ever notice most American blended whiskeys have this same kind of like yellowish, white, washed out label? I think it's called Ecro. It's like a linen, like you'd see for a tablecloth or something. Okay, Bellows American blended whiskey, 80% grain neutral spirits, 20% straight whiskey, no age statement. So that means the straight whiskey is aged at least 4 years. Bottled in Missouri by, it says Bellows Company, but it's really Luxco. I got the link below to show you that Luxco owns it. They bought it from Beam Company. Luxco bought this from Beam Suntory in 2015. Now, Beam had acquired Bellows from, I think they just sold to Beam because the company was founded in 1830, so it wasn't the original owner that sold it. It wasn't even the original owner's children. It was descendants way down. So there's Bellows. This whiskey is blended for maximum smoothness. They always say those kind of things. WB William Bellows. Okay, you'll see it around. I bought this in Metairie, Louisiana, at International Market. This is a liter bottle actually, and it was $8.99. $8.99 for the liter. Now this is a standard size bottle, 750 milliliters in the USA. I know in England and New Zealand, Australia, their bottles are 70 centiliters, 700 milliliters. They're not getting the full amount. We're getting 750. Quality House, American blended whiskey with natural flavors, caramel color, 70 proof, introduced in 1980, bottled in Kentucky by Heaven Hill. Blended whiskey with natural flavor. Technically not a whiskey. In a practical sense, it's a whiskey with natural flavors. In a legal sense, it's not a whiskey, it's a DSS, a distilled specialty spirit subcategory flavored whiskey. That's the truth. Okay. You can't add flavor into bourbon, but you can add flavor into bourbon and call it a distilled specialty spirit subcategory flavored bourbon. Sounds ridiculous, but it's the truth. Okay. Took me about 2 years to figure this out by trying to repeatedly read the complicated Tax and Trade Bureau handbook of distilled spirits. Make sure I got my tags right. 70 proof. Usually what you find a lot of liqueurs at, most of your liqueurs, like Southern Comfort 70 proof, the white label Southern Comfort. Now there's a Southern Comfort black label and it's 80 proof. And you might even search around and find Southern Comfort 100 proof. 100 proof. Wouldn't recommend drinking too much of that or you're going to feel 100% terrible. Okay. They're both amber gold, more amber than gold. What I've noticed about the Quality House, we do get Quality House in Louisiana, but it's Quality House Kentucky blended whiskey. It's different than this 80 proof, aged 3 years, 80-20 blend ratio. This was purchased at Villa Liquors in Texarkana, Arkansas, in July 2022, and it was $5.99. So about $2 less per bottle. But that depends, because when I was at Savannah Discount 3 years, take that back. When I was at Savannah Discount 4 years ago, they had Bellows, and the guy was like, "Hey, my friend, would you like to try this?" I said, "Oh, I already had Bellows." because I have those 2 bottles. And then something was in my mind, said, go look at that bottle again. I don't know what triggered my mind, but I went and looked at the bottle and I said, wait a minute. It said straight bourbon whiskey. And I said, oh, and I didn't see a price tag. So I went up to the counter and I said, can you tell me the price of this bottle? Yes, they scanned it, $5.99. Well, I immediately bought it to get a straight bourbon whiskey, Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, aged at least 4 years for $5.99. It's unheard of. But you just heard it. Now, I hope you don't think I went back a week later and they had more. They did not. I ended up going back about a week later looking for something else, and that was all gone. I mean, when you see a price like that, either you're going to buy it or you're never going to see it again. It's not going to be around. It's like, Walmart had the Busker Irish whiskey. They're $30 a bottle, sort of like a craft, so-called Irish craft whiskey. We'll see. I haven't tried it. I guess Walmart decided it wasn't selling well enough for them, and they sold it for $10. The single grain and the triple distilled, green label and the red label, for $10. I bought both. My friend David was like, I want them too. Could you go back and get me some? I was like, oh boy. So he thought the triple distill was pretty good, but he loved the single grain. And he was like, can you buy me another one? I said, what do you need all this for? Oh, no, I love it. So I bought it. So he paid $30 and got 3 full-size bottles. They're all gone. Well, maybe he still got some of the triple distill because he said he didn't like it too much. Okay, well, anyway, he's very picky. Does he have a right to be very picky? Oh, yeah. Anybody can be very picky if whatever you want to do. Okay, I noticed the Quality House has a lot of sediment in it. When I hold it up to the light, now I'm going to turn the light on because we've seen the products. The glare was interfering with that, but now I can turn the light on some in some kind of decent setting. Whoops, hit the wrong button. Every time I hold the bottle up, there's more sediment. And what I think is happening is that they filtered it and it was clear. And then over time, after I exposed it to air, I think if it had stayed sealed, it wouldn't have happened. But as I exposed it to air, some kind of chemical thing happened where the natural flavorings are starting to separate. This is theory. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I've watched scientific movies where the natural flavoring is starting to separate from the whiskey and it's showing up as solids. And my thinking is that they're adding vanilla extract, natural, not artificial vanilla, because then it would have to be artificial flavoring. Vanilla and some kind of nut oil, like pecan oil or something like that. All right, I don't know, but that's what it's kind of tastes and smells and tastes like. Let's go with the taste, the smell. It smelled like corn grits. I had grits Sunday morning, white hominy. I think they use yellow grits for bourbon. It smelled like that. What about vanilla? Maybe, and a little nuttiness and a little wood. Maybe. Mostly just corn whiskey. That's what it is. Yeah, the same thing here. Believe it or not, I'm sure you believe it. It's the same. So on aroma, there's no difference. On appearance, there's not much difference. Let's see about the taste. On price, $2. And that's not even accurate because you don't know how much these are going to cost store to store. You see what I'm saying? Quality House might be $2 cheaper in one town. You go to the next, it's $2 more. So, and then the next time be the same price. So they're very close. Let's just say the same price. Okay. And not common. Now you might say, well, where I live, it's common. And that could be true. If I go to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, every liquor store sells Kentucky Gold. If I go to New Orleans, no liquor store sells Kentucky Gold that I ever saw. So that it's regional even in Louisiana. In this area along the Mississippi River, everybody sells Heaven Hills Quality House Kentucky Blended Whiskey. And practically no one sells T.W. Samuels. If I go to the North Shore in the Florida parishes, that's the part of Louisiana that literally used to be part of Florida. True story. Everybody sells T.W. Samuels, and you almost never see the Heaven Hill Kentucky Blended Whiskey. So it's just, like I say, a regional thing. This one here, I'm getting a little bite from the wood, but I'm getting vanilla, which I think, like I say, they're adding vanilla. And I'm getting maybe some dry sherry. They're allowed to add sherry to whiskey. You say, no, that's not true. Read the Tax and Trade Bureau website. They're allowed to add what's called blending sherry to smooth out the taste. Sounds bizarre, doesn't it? But it's not to exceed, it says NTE, not to exceed 2.5% of the volume. They do that with Canadian whiskey too. They can add wine to it. I think in Canada, they even have a wider allowance. Can't go above 9.09. 9% of the volume flavoring. You know. Yeah. I mean, the overall flavor of these is just whiskey. Like you say, what does this taste like? 99% of the people would say some kind of whiskey. And that's the law. Whiskey in the United States must have the aroma and flavor generally attributed to whiskey. That's what the law says. Okay. So you can't, it's illegal to make a whiskey that tastes like a rum. Unless you say, I know what you're going to say, unless you made a distilled specialty spirit and called it rum flavored whiskey, then that would be allowed. I don't know who would buy it, but it would be allowed. All right. These are very close, very close. What do we know about American blended whiskey? Well, we know it can come from anywhere in America. Do they use a blend of whiskeys that they trade with each other? Yes. Could they come from all sorts of states in different companies? Yes. Could two different companies be using whiskey from the same other company and have their products taste the same? Yes. So they're given a wide latitude on what they can do. Now, can they add flavoring? Yep. Can they add color? Yep. Do they have to disclose it? No. Does it have to be aged a certain amount of time? No, except yes. No and yes. The grain spirits are unaged anyway, but the straight, it has to be at least 20% straight whiskey, and by virtue of its name, straight whiskey must be aged at least 2 years. So yeah, in an indirect way, which becomes a direct way, blended whiskey has to be aged at least 2 years by virtue of what has to be included in it. You see. All right. It's a tough one. Yeah. Well, but I think I got it because I think this one in my right hand seems to have more body. And I think that's coming from the fact that it is a stronger 80 proof, the proper minimum for whiskey, versus 70 proof, which is improper for whiskey and actually not allowed. That's why it's called a DSS, distilled specialty product. Now, the flavor themselves are the same. The flavors themselves are identical. It's just that the body is a little more present in this one. So I would buy the Bellows personally. I would recommend it. Now, Heaven Hill's fine, especially if you like low alcohol products. Do you know they have products from companies like in Princeton, Minnesota? What's that company? Phillips Distilling. and they have something called light Canadian whiskey. It's like 29% alcohol, like 59.5 proof or whatever. So it's a, yeah, you said, well, that's a distilled specialty spirit, isn't it? Yeah. So some people like that kind of stuff, like real watered down, low alcohol whiskey. I mean, I don't know why, but they do, and there's a market. Is it a big market? No, it's a niche market, very low volume market, but it exists. Have I seen those in Louisiana? Well, no. Louisiana is a drinking state with a football problem, so I think in Louisiana people, they want the full alcohol level. Although, to be honest, the number one beer in Louisiana is Bud Light at 4.2% alcohol. That's just regular range. It's not, that's just medium range alcohol. So, and the number one whiskey in Louisiana is Crown Royal, only 80 proof. You say only, yeah, it's 40% alcohol. But you know what I'm saying. So, the number one brandy in Louisiana is Hennessy, cognac brandy from France, 40% alcohol. The number one rum, of course, is Bacardi, white or gold, depending on which one you want to get. I don't know which one actually sells better. The number one gin in Louisiana, it is. Before I say it, it's Seagram's London Dry, the most popular gin in America. The number one vodka in Louisiana, that's a good question. Probably Taka would be a close second. It's cheap. It's a budget vodka, but it's very big in Louisiana. But probably the number one vodka in Louisiana would be not Seagram's, although it's around quite a bit. What's the one you see everywhere? Whatever it is. Okay, I can't think of it, but it's every store has it, Number one gin, not Tanqueray, although that's a very popular one. Yes. It's I already said that, Seagram's. What am I saying? I'm repeating myself. Okay, number one tequila, I meant to say. Number one tequila in Louisiana, it would be Jose Cuervo, gold and silver. You know that. I know that. American people know that. Number one mezcal, that's too niche to even discuss, so this is not worth mentioning. Number one rye whiskey, same thing. It's too niche. Rye whiskey is not a popular product in Louisiana. It's sold, of course, but it just trickles out the store. You don't see too many people buying it, honestly. No, you don't. Oh, where is my mind? You say you tasted too many things, too many whiskey taste challenges. That's not the issue. I just couldn't think of it. I don't know why. Just Smirnoff. Of course, the number one selling vodka in Louisiana is Smirnoff. It's probably the number one selling vodka in every state. But number two is probably Taka. And those Taka flavors are so popular. Now they're going to have the king cake flavor because it's it's a crisp Mardi Gras time, Carnival time, and Smirnoff flavored vodkas are all the rage. People love buying these things. They really do. So anyway, that brings us to a close for American blended whiskey. Now, will I ever get back to it in 2023? It's possible, maybe around the later months, September, October, November, December, something like that. Last 4 months, last third of the year could happen. I don't know if it will. Probably will around November, December, most likely. But now we're going on to a new category starting Wednesday. If anybody wants to see what's coming up, it's an incredible Canadian whiskey, I think, for an incredible price. You pay what you pay doesn't match up with what you get, because what you get is much higher than the pay. You know, you're buying it and you're getting a product that's much higher quality than you would think you'd get for the $30. Sorry, $34.95, $35. So if you want to see what's coming up, let me know now, or we'll just forget it. So we'll count down. I can show you what I have coming up going once. I can show you what I have coming up going twice. I can show you what I have coming up going 3 times. So that's it. So anyway, be on the lookout, because you're going to see a lot of Canadian whiskey taste challenges coming up. And I think the one I have, the one coming up, is going to win every. I think it's going to win every time. Every time. That's my prediction. It will never lose. Will never lose. It will not lose. All right. So be on the lookout, because you're going to see victory, 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 victory ad infinitum. All right. Thanks, everybody.